Hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner here on YouTube. I'm Angela Porte. I'm not Porte, I'm Porter. And it's Saturday, not Saturday, the 1st of July. We're into a new month. I can't believe it. Halfway through the year. And time just seems to have flown by in so many ways. But Saturday, sort of like it alliterates with Sketchbook. So Sketchbook Saturday it is. And I think Saturdays are going to be a day where I show you some of the work in my... This is the only sketchbook I got to hand. The other one's downstairs and it's staying down there. And do some work with you based on work in my sketchbook. So these, I think I showed you these 2 pages. I still haven't added colour. I still don't know whether I'm going to finish this one or not. It's a process for me. I much prefer drawing with pen and ink than I do adding colour or shading. But I'm working my way through things and my issues. And this I definitely showed you, I'm sure, as these are some of the coloured permanent inks I bought from Cult Pens. And I'm not affiliated, I'm not sponsored, I'm not gifted anything. I buy everything myself. I tell you because people will ask me otherwise. And these are the Octopus Fluid Writing Draw inks, which have got nothing to do with cruelty to octopuses. They're vegan. And they're blooming lovely. And these were the original sets. I'll show you the others I got. Unfortunately, some of the greys are repeated in one of the sets, but I don't mind because I quite like the greys. I love this grey fox, which is sort of like a bluish colour. In my head, grey fox should be more of a warmer orangey browny grey. This one I'm sure I showed you. Yes, I did. And these are the other ones. So I've got some lovely pale colours here. This very, very pale orange, this lovely pale pink. This violet is called Violet Raccoon, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I like this blue lynx. The blue chameleon is bluer than it appears on my page. My pages are ivory. Violet giraffe is a really, really deep violet. Pink rhino's fun. Pink owl. Oh, I love it. It's not so in your face as some pinks are. I like the red duck. I like the orange bunny. I like the brown colibri. That is a colour I will use an awful lot, I think. And then these are some of the others. So I've got grey kangaroo, grey meerkat, grey frog, grey fox there. But there's a petrel axolotl, which is a greeny blue, a greeny teal. And then you've got petrel buffalo, which is a tealy teal. And I also got some new pens, dip pens. This one I think is my favourite of the ones I've got so far. It is a Midori dip pen, but it's got a fountain pen nib. No flexible nibs for me to mess up. And the other one, this is Cohesi, and again a fountain pen dip nib there, stainless steel, both of them. And this one came with a different kind of nib as well, which I'm not quite sure how much I'll use. It's a bit weird. I've got to work with it a lot more, and I haven't done yet. This was just experimenting with the coloured inks and so on. I drew this with grey ink. I think I used grey fox, which is that bluey grey, and then the pale blue and pale pink there. I do not like this colour and this one. I think I should have stuck with monochrome. And in fact, I could have done monochrome all the way through, because the number of layers of colour I put on this until I got something I vaguely liked. This drawing I finished yesterday, the day before. Just a little drawing full of just black pen drawings and textures to bring out contrast and highlights and shade. No doubt I will go back and add colour or shading to some selected areas, but I'm leaving it as it is for now. Yes, have I scanned it in? I think I have, but I need to double check. Yes, I have scanned it in, so that's good to go if I want to add colour digitally. Bugs. I do have a thing for bugs. So this was drawn mainly to try out. You don't need to look that side, it's a shopping list of things I need to get. So, occupational varifocals, forgot about those. These are ones that they're not meant for seeing distant, near and far like most varifocal glasses do. These are just for intermediate distance and near distance, which is fab when I'm working on my computer screen. and my old ones just pull at my eyes, so I need to get new ones based on the new prescription. They were fine until a wee while ago, I think. Perhaps not. No, they weren't. So this one definitely needs some colour added, but I'm not sure what. You can see where, look at that, ink splot. Did I give up? No, I just turned it into these. There's 3 of them, so it looks deliberate. That's what you do. And this I enjoyed drawing. This was definitely yesterday and some of today, where I've been adding colour. And you can see the shading on some of these. I used a pencil. I saw these. A pack of 10 on Amazon was only £10. Platinum brand, it's the Japanese, and they're called extra dark pencils for good handwriting. I got them because I do like writing with a pencil, and I thought, oh, if they don't smudge, that'll be perfect. They do smudge if you use a tortillon or a paper stump, which is I was using. So I've gone back and I've actually put the shading on top of the colour to bring out more depth and dimension. On the screen, on my screen, these look very dark colours. They are quite dark, but I love the way this teal almost glows there. And of course there's going to be gold and white put on here to help to bring things out. But I'm sort of having fun with this. Just shaded there with that pencil. Could do actually with just lifting some of that off again, because I extended it just a bit too far, and just spread it just that little bit more just at the edge, just to soften the edge. That's a bit better. There we go. So that works. That's quite nice. I think that's the advantage of using a pencil for this and adding colour on the top. I'll come back to this page in a moment. This one I did this morning mostly. I did some last night. Used pencil shading there, and in other places I've used pencil shading under the colour and pencil shading on top of the colour, and I can't tell the difference. So woohoo. It adds that extra darkness that I want in places, so making use of that. I do like my trees. I've got a nasty line there from the paint I used. I think it was some Inktense paint, and so it's dried like that. I can't blend it out, but all the same I still like them, and I'm starting to add patterns here. Problem is I've added so much water that the pen's going on really nicely, but it's the lines are a bit thicker than they should be with a pen as it fades out. Okay, and this, I'm so much happier with this. It's basically monochrome. So I use 2 greens. They're sort of like a very pastel grey green in use. There's this lovely yellowy green, and I've used this kind of bluey green or greeny blue, just as a light wash or darker wash in places, just to bring out some difference. So it's essentially monochrome, you know, it's monochrome, colours very close together. And you know what? That pleases me far more than this one, because all the colours, it's hard to tell which part is which in some ways. This one's not so bad apart from the ink background, because that is, you know, it's purples, pinks and greens, so you know they work together nicely. Now then, this page and the next one, I've been doing some quick drawings of flowers and different flowers, and yes, I've left the pencil lines in, and I will do, because this is what a sketchbook should be used for. It's not about having perfect drawings in, and my sketchbooks can have a whole mix. I mean, look at that, you know, this one, just testing inks. At the back of this book, I've actually, no, have I got it on this one? No, in another one, I've actually got examples of colours and colour, you know, mixes, blends as well. So I've got those to reference. Why isn't it in that one? Which one is it in then? No idea. I thought I had it in this one. I'm wrong. But it can go in anywhere, because this is what sketchbooks are for. It's for trying things out. It's for having a go at things. It's not necessarily doing finished pieces of work. That I'm surprised how much I like it. I like these layers, and I know I want to bring those out with shading. In fact, let's have a quick go, because I think, oh, as I poked myself in the eye nearly with my glasses, that was a good one. So I'm just going to put some pencil inside this line here. Like so. I'm not pressing very heavily with the pencil. I'm just going to run my tortillon along my paper stump, along an eraser, just to get some of the excess graphite off. And then I'm just going to go and just gently soften this out. So if I do this, then I can just put a simple wash of colour on, perhaps with it lighter in the area I want, lighter in colour, paler in shade, where I want this to appear raised, so I can get a feeling of this perhaps bending. And up there I can put some shading as well. And I'm also going to put some on this side. So this one, all of this section appears beneath this one and this one, hopefully. Put some round there, put some round the bottom, and definitely round here as well. A little bit needed up there. I wasn't sure whether this would work with this pencil very well, because the pencil is, for, you know, sort of like designed for writing more than drawing, but it's lovely. And yes, it's not a mechanical pencil. Shock horror. But for £2, for 10, I couldn't believe it. And they came with a pencil sharpener and an eraser, and the eraser's brilliant. I've got to see if you can buy these. Absolutely dust free, and it rolls. The eraser dust just rolls into strands and blobs really, really well, in a way that other supposed dust free erasers don't. So how's that looking? We're looking quite, does that look? That does look, doesn't it, like it's stuck in a crack. And then I'm going to add some along this side. So this side appears, this side, or this bit appears below this one. This is a shock horror for anybody who knows me and how much I dislike graphite. But this doesn't seem as mucky as others, and I don't know why. So that adds some shading there, just to push that down. And I think I'll add some shading in these little triangular sections, top and bottom of these ones, because I want these other teeth. It does look like teeth. Teeth in a sideways mouth, I know. Well, it seems to be things like this appear in my artwork. It's my love of Halloween. It's my favourite holiday season. The rest I can go, meh. And some I absolutely dislike intensely. Because they trigger me and my past. See, PTSD gets triggered around certain holidays and celebrations. So, yeah, I'm not good then. So there we are. So we're beginning to get some dimension there. And look at this, I can't stop now, can I? Just going to add some here. Just to lift that ribbon up a little bit. The thing I love about using the paper stumps is that you don't have to be all that neat and tidy with adding the graphite, because it will ease itself out. And by working it into the paper, it doesn't smudge so easily, hopefully. And I will just put little hints of shadow here with just what's left on this paper stump around the edges, rather than putting very dark in. Just pop some in there. So that automatically sets that back, even I can see that. And I can do the same here, where I can pop this where I want to bring layers out. So here and here. Here's another layer, just here. So let me just do those two for now. I'm not doing any on the inside of this. I want this to stay quite bright. But I do want some shading here, just to lift this above the other one. Like so. And where I've got just a little bit of overspill there, I'm just going to go back, Better if I'd use my kneadable eraser though, because I can change the shape of it. And I'm going to put some shading down here and put it around this tree, around all of these here, just there, perhaps a little bit at the top of the tree as well. And let's see how this works. There we go. Is that already starting to add dimension to those? It's amazing just to have something small. You can do things. Yeah, perhaps I'm on the I quite like shading as long as it's with the right tools kind of thing. So back to these flowers, because I've wandered off, haven't I? Excuse me while I have some water. Still haven't solved the problem of why my mouth is so dry. I'm just putting it down to perimenopause and medication, a mixture of them. There's no other reason why it should be. Okay, so these flowers are ones I drew not long ago. I did look at, you know, references or ideas and styles to get an idea of things, but a lot of them remind me very much of medieval Jacobean patterns. So they're most probably stuffed in my head, but I've put my own little spin on them as well. And I thought it could be quite fun to draw some of these with you and give you some hints and tips of how to put the construction lines in. So I'm going to move this out of the way a moment. And I got a piece of paper here. This is, let me just adjust my autofocus again. There we go. Just check it's not going to bop. No, it's not bopping in and out because I've gone down by more than a centimetre. This is a piece of watercolour paper. It's 100% cotton and it's 15, is it 15 centimetres? No, it's not 15 centimetres wide. I think it's 13 centimetres wide. It is, which is 5 1/8 inches. And it's 7 inches tall, which is nearly 18 centimetres, 17.8 centimetres. Cut it on that side. Now let me check which side is which. Sometimes it's really incredibly difficult to tell. And there's a reason I've got this, because it will stand up to water-based media really well. The size is because, oh, it will almost fit in there. I need to take a little bit more off, so let's do that. Just take about I'll take a centimetre off. That should be fine. So it's now 4 3/4, which is 12 centimetres wide. So, and then that should fit on the page because I am going to stick it in my sketchbook afterwards. Yeah, that'll fit. Got space to write things. So there we go. Job's a good one. So let's have a look. I know which one I'm going to draw. And I may do one, I may do more than one, okay? But part of me thinks, I'd like to make this into a design or use the flowers as a kind of design tool. So let me just put some kind of edge in. I'm just guessing this because I haven't got my ruler to hand. It's not essential, it doesn't have to be perfectly centralised or anything the same. It's only sketchbook. And I am giving myself a fair amount of space around the middle bit, just in case I need to go outside of it, because you know me, I do love going outside the lines. There we go, so that's good. Okay, so I'm going to use a pencil to begin with because the shape I want curves down, around a little bit and then back up like this. Okay, try to get them fairly even on each side. It doesn't matter if it's not, because we're talking nature. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to connect these with an arch. Then I'm going to extend this line a little bit more so it's almost horizontal, and then I'm going to draw another arch above it. And those are basically my structure for this. I do want to put another line in there though, and you'll see why in a moment. Now, I'm not going to use my ink pens on this. I'm going to use a UniPin pen. So I'm going to start by just inking in this. But what I want to do here is I want to leave space at the bottom. I'll zoom in so you can see what I'm doing actually now. I want to leave space at the bottom here for a stem to go in. So I'm creating a little hole, almost a little arch there. And then my stem can go in. And then I'm going to go up just to that top, no, not the top line, the middle one here of these arches or arcs. And back down here. And I am then going to draw this one in, like so. Okay, so we've got that kind of shape going on. Now, I'm going to draw in a stem like this. May not do it all that wide. In fact, I may, that narrow. I may make it a bit wider. I may keep it nice and narrow. I don't know yet. Let's start with what's up at the top here. So carry this on. So I'm going to split this into half on each side as well. So split it into fours. Then I'm going to go and split it into eighths. They're not all exactly, in fact I probably could split that end one again because it's quite a big section. They're not exactly equal and I'm not exactly bothered because we're drawing flowers and it's hand drawn. So what I'm going to do here with each of these sections, I'm going to go up, back along the line, and I'm going to arch around the top. Now there are lots of different flower shapes we could have, and perhaps I'll do some of them, a couple more of them along the stem, because that could be quite fun, couldn't it? Some variations. Oh, now then, some of these are a bit big, so perhaps I won't stick to the sizes here. I'll use the lines as a guideline for the angle at which I need to draw the downstroke of the petal. There we go, getting there. So there's all my petals on the top, just like that. I'll put this line in, and I've decided I want to put a narrower one in there. Perhaps I'll put one in here as well. Some of my lines aren't very thick here. Okay, so I'm also going to, because I've decided, I'll pop one in there and I'll put one right at the base there where the stem comes out. So that feels quite nice. And then what I'm going to do here is, if I draw the central line again in here, it's not quite, that's more central. I am going to draw an upside down V, but I'm going to curl the ends of the V outwards like that. Okay, then I'm going to draw an aura inside, then I'm going to draw this inside there. Okay, and underneath here I'm going to put another pair of lines going behind this. Can you see this line I've sort of like made equal with the top of this? I'm just going to go down a little bit there. And that's basically my flower. I do like this. It reminds me of Egyptian flowers actually, that you see on the tops of columns, you know, in ancient Egypt. Sort of. Don't think they do that though. But that's fine. It's my little twist. Okay. So I'm just adding some ink between the petals just to fill those little spaces in and to make them feel that they are somehow connected. I could round the bottom of the petals, but I don't think I will because I know that I'll end up with lines that are too thick. Now then, there are some spaces where I want to go and thicken these lines a little bit, or some areas. Top around the side here and down, just to pick the shape out more than anything. Now I could have done this with a thicker pen, but I only got my 03 out, and it is an 03 UniPin. Okay, I'm also going to put some ink underneath this one and underneath this one, like that, to add some dimension already, and then thicken the lower of these bands as well, so it looks like we've got some dimension going on there. Yeah, so that's my flower. Okay, now then, I've got this stem here, so I am going to draw another stem and I'm going to extend it. I'm going to draw another one of these shapes. It doesn't have to be the same size as the other one. This one's actually much wider. I don't know if you can see that. Perhaps that can bend upwards just that little bit more. And then here I'm going to put a lot more of a curve on that top bit. It looks a bit like a ginkgo leaf in shape, a stylized ginkgo leaf. Now this doesn't feel like it's going through the middle, so I'm going to just adjust that. Okay, so it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to put a line there, a little arch there, and a double line there, and then everything else will fall into place. I am going to put a shape like this. Now that looks more like, this is quite round, like a round top. This is more like the shape that I drew originally, and perhaps I could just adjust these to mimic that shape. Now I'm not rubbing out my lines because I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm trying to achieve, and I know I can erase them later on. So I'm happy with that as it is now. So I'm going to go over these. I'm going to stop at this first one. Not that one, but here. And just draw this in before I forget the line I want to take. So just bending them up that little bit more, and then this one up and back down. And then these at the end, I'm just going to round them this way. So instead of drawing it in, as I did here, this shape, and then putting these lines in there, I've actually made the decision to change this. Now I could have done this down here, but I'm going to cheat a little bit and just make the ends just appear like they're just bending out with that little bit. We'll come back and fill this in eventually. Now then, I have got the opportunity here for all kinds of mischief. By mischief I mean fun. So what I'm doing here is I'm splitting this up. This one I use straight lines. Here I'm bending lines towards the edges. So I'm not the line in the middle is just there for reference, but on either side, the side of the petal will be bending down towards this, so we end up with something that looks quite curved. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to put a little notch at the top of it. See? So I'll draw one here. So I'll put the notch in first, perhaps so you can see it. So I'm going to draw up and down, and from this down this way. And there's a reason I'd like a little notch there, because it's a variation. I'm definitely going to do one here. Well, of course, because whatever I do with one, or how I create a particular pattern, I'll do with all of the shapes. So I could have done these on alternate ones, and perhaps had one dipping in, one having a notch going upwards, as it were. Once you get into it, you are able to do it in one stroke. If you're not sure, do it in pencil and then ink it in afterwards. So we've got that. Now these here, I'm going to fill with a little, it looks like there's a seed or perhaps a ball of pollen there. So I could draw a line back down to these areas, which is a possibility, or I could do something else. And I think what I'm going to do is just go like this. And that just gives a nice kind of pattern there, something a bit different. And it leaves itself open to adding, I'm going to add some stripes using the curves of this. So I'm going along the curve and then straightening up before I just turn the corner to the notch, as it were. So I do like to split largish areas up. Now, of course, all of these steps are optional. If you prefer to not put the notch in, don't. If you want to explore different shapes, you might want to put a bigger V shape, or perhaps smaller petals, or even bigger ones here. The choice is entirely yours. So I've now got this happening, which is really quite nice. Okay, now in the middle here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this, and it looks like I've got half a leaf there, and I'm going to do the same on the other side, like that. And look what I've got there. I've got that same shape happening again. But with these, I am going to draw I think in Zentangle they call it a tethered aura, because I'm starting from the same point and sort of like following the shape there. So I've got this, and I'm going to put this kind of shape in here again, just like that. I'm going to pop one in there, then I'm going to put another stripe, perhaps two behind that, so it looks like there's something inside here. And do you know what, to emphasize that, I'm actually going to fill those sections in with black, so there could be a seed or something tucked in behind. Okay, let's start to add some line weight here. So I'll add some on this side and this side here, down here, around that section, back up. Underneath this is where we're going to add some ink, along the bottom there. And then here I'm going to add ink on that side, but ink on the other side. In fact, I should have done it the other way round, but it doesn't matter. Okay, these little bits here, I am going to just fill these little corners in between them and tidy up the shapes and how they connect in that kind of way, because some of them look a bit odd. If we do that, it looks kind of deliberate, doesn't it? So we've got that going on, so that's quite nice. I'm tempted to actually put some weight on these to help them. No, we'll do that perhaps in a different way. So we've got those two. Okay, shall we go for one more? Let's go just for one more, based on the same kind of shape. So this is quite narrow here, and I'm just going to, I haven't curled it out quite as much, but I'm going to pop those lines in, and then have a look up. Again, I could have carried this on up here, so I've got an idea of where I'm going. So I'm going up there to a point, and from here up to a point. And yet it's not quite symmetrical, so I've got an option of what to do, and I think I'm going to go like so, and then just redraw it, and that'll be closer. Or perhaps, oh, that's what I've done. I can see what I've done wrong. Honestly, I bent this out first, didn't I? And then drew that in. There we go. There we are. We got there in the end. So it's a completely different, it's more of that kind of shape here than the other one. It's got much more of a point. And I think with this I'm just going to do 3 petals. Okay, so I've split that into 3 sections, the middle and the 2 end ones. Okay, so again I'm going to leave that little gap there for the stem. I'm going to go up to this point here and I'm going to give myself, looks like an ice cream cone almost. We'll do something with that in a moment. I need to think about that. I am going to put a little border around that. I like borders, they separate one element from another. That's all. That's my style. If you prefer not to, or if you don't want to, or you want to see what it looks like without, feel free to leave it out. I keep saying this, don't I? Okay, so I'm going for almost heart-shaped petals here. It's almost like the bottom of the heart is tucked into this cone, and I'm going to emphasize this by just drawing around it, perhaps rounding the shape a little bit more as I do so. And then I'm going to put some circles at the tip of these hearts to suggest pollen or something else. Now I may want to add pattern or other colours or anything else in there later on, but let's just start adding some line weight. So bottom and left to have things standing up from the paper. Bottom, that's a bottom and left. And then right, top and right, if we want it to appear hollow, which is what I'm doing here. So top, right, this one's top, here's top and right, that one's top as well. So that works nicely, possibly. And for these little balls I'm going to put shadow to the left and bottom, or thicker line there, so they look like they're lifting up or they're above the what's ever behind. At the bottom here I'm going to put, how can I do that? A leaf shape like this, very Egyptian feeling that is. So you can see there's kind of a leaf shape here, and then I'm going to add smaller ones to either side. Now I could add even smaller ones in between these, but I'm not going to. And I will want to add detail once I've added colour. So, okay, so I've got 3 nice ones here. So let's have a look at doing some leaves. So I'm going to draw my stems in, and I'm going to draw them in just a little bit thicker than they are here, because I know this will all erase quite nicely from the paper. So that one's a bit thicker than the others, but this would naturally get that little bit thicker towards the end. So with this one I'm going to draw a kind of mocha-ish leaf like that, and I can put one on the other side like so. Okay, yeah. Then here, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a kind of a branch, and I'm going to have a berry there, I'm going to have a berry going under there, and I'm going to have one here. Okay, so that's something a little bit different. Okay, under here we need to start having perhaps some leaves. So here I've got a very shallow arc which just kicks up at the end, and then I'm coming back with a deeper one like that. So I'll do it on this side, so I'm going to go and just kick it up at the end a little bit, and then I'm going to come down and go back and join that with a, it's almost an S shape, it's a very shallow S shape. And then here at the bottom, because I can, I'm going to do some bigger leaves. So a nice curve, oops, sorry, off the camera. So I've just drawn this lovely curve. I'm going to bring this back up to create a fold, and then from here I'm just going to put a wavy line like that, and that creates a nice kind of leaf. And what I'm going to do at the top of it is I'm going to put one of those mucas in as well, and perhaps at the bottom a small one like that. And I can do the same now on the other side, except for this one I'm going to put the curve on that side, and then I'm going to come down with my wobbly line just there, and maybe just pop one of these in like so there, just to fill that in. And I could have them coming up here as well, but having just a light airy feel to them. So perhaps I could do that here. There we are. So let's just ink this in and see how this all looks, and then erase it. So okay, with this one, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do this in, so I'm going to start with my stem here. I'm going to draw it down to where it meets this flower. Then I'm just going to draw this part of this stem in. I'm going to go inside that little sphere a little bit. Then I'm going to do this in a Zentangle poke root kind of style, and I'm going to do the same with these others. This one here, I think I'd rather like to have it perhaps a bit further out so it doesn't go underneath that flower. So I can adjust that as I draw. And then this one, I can just put that in like that. And put that little, you know, smiley face and filled in kind of thing. Just to fill that in. Okie doke, so I've got the stem coming down here, so I'll work on this section next. So I'm going to go all the way up here, and I'm going to come round with one of these shapes, because we've used that shape elsewhere, don't forget. So by doing this, I'm tying things in almost like, even though they are quite different in a way, they'll work quite nicely. So I'm doing each element as I come to it, each side. So this one, I'm going to do the same as I did there, where I'm just going to curl this around into a little curly bit. I'm going to bring this back down, and then it's going to go and join the rest of this stem. I'm not doing a very good job of keeping this on the camera in my own view. So here, this one just comes down here, as does this side to there. And I will go back and I'll just add little bits of ink in these joins just to sort that out. This side I've got this leaf going like that. Now I've exaggerated the shape simply because I can, and here I've decided that I'd rather like to do a spray of berries perhaps instead. So like so. It's very delicate, a bit different. Going down here, and I'm now going to pick this up. Put that spiral inside, and then join this down here, because this leaf is going to go across the stems somewhat, so in fact I've made it even more across the stem. I haven't done a very good job of actually drawing this, but you get the idea. Just put a little more of a curve right at the tip of this leaf here, like so, and then well, perhaps this one has a bit of a kink in that side as well, like so. And then let's do this side. So again, I've got this kind of a leaf going on. So I made it that little bit bigger, and again with this here I think I'll put a little spray of berries, a little spray of little berries rather than the other shapes I was using. Perhaps just add one there, and I can do that here as well, just to have some interest. And then I could leave it like that, but I think I'd like a couple as I go down the stem. Then we're going to take this down here. This will go behind now, so I'm going to be able to draw this little mooka in, which will go behind that as the stem does, and then I'm going to make use of this idea of drawing the stem behind to draw this side of the leaf in, so like so. And then we've got this little one here, which you can then come back down, so we've got that as the stem and that there. And then the last thing is this, and I'm going to turn this into some little berries as well. Like so. Perhaps just one there. And I think I might just put some in here as well, because I think that's a space that could benefit from just a little spray, perhaps just a little bit like that. And I could do it all the way up. First, let's have a look at this without the pencil lines on. Leave the bottom to dry, but the top here, let's get rid of these pencil marks, hopefully. And without lots of dust everywhere. Lots of mess. Just clean that up. And I'll just check whether there's a little bit left there, so we can get rid of that. Anywhere else? Not the top. Still a little bit there. Oh, annoying thing. I think the rest of it's mostly gone. There's some here. There we go. Right then. Just get rid of all of this a mo. Scooch it away in the bin. It's no good to anybody. And then I'll zoom out so you can see the drawing. Okay. So I've taken the pencil lines away so you can see what's left. I just need a bit more water. It's quite simple, nothing overly complicated. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at these leaves because the leaves need some extra definition. So with these ones, I'm going to draw just a central line, and it's going to be closer to the straighter edge. I also need to do some corner roundings, adding ink in corners just to, and where things connect. Think stained glass, that's what this always reminds me of. So I'm just looking here, there's a space there that needs a bit of rounding, that needs a bit of neatening up. There, there. Looks to be fine. I will add tiny bits of ink where these little stems join their main stem. Just there. And the same here. Let me go and do this one as well down here. Just these tiny little bits just make a big difference. Okay, let's go over here. And then tidy that one up. Okay, let's have a look. So we need a bit there. I'm just going to look and see whether I want to put these little berries in anywhere. So I've got nice big ones there, haven't I? In fact, I most probably could get away with one more here. Yeah, I know there's only 4 there. Not sure if this feels balanced or not. I'm not really sure at the moment, but I think that we'll just have to go with it. These here, I do want to put the central line in both this and this, just to give it that little bit more structure so you can make sense of it later on. And yet I am just putting a couple of dots in the centre just to break that long line up. Okay, I think that is good for now. Now then, ta-da, pencil. Let's start with one of the flowers. I'm not going to add colour or shading to everything, but here I want to put shading down the left hand side, perhaps a little bit on the right hand side. Underneath each of these borders, bands, top of this one there where the petals come out of, and let's have a look how this all works. So I'm trying not to spread this out too much, I just want to blend it in more than anything and give myself that bit of shadow that this needs just to help to bring some dimension out, some volume. That'll need a bit on that side, and there's probably that side just to help that one. Definitely under there, and in there as well we'll need some. So how's that looking? It's not bad, is it? And then I'm going to just put some perhaps at the edge like so, just so that these feel like they are just that little bit further away in terms of distance. So, and I can then help to spread this up a little bit just to help to emphasize that, perhaps a little bit at the tops as if they're curving inwards as well. So that will work. It's not bad. These, bottom and left, particularly where the little thingy is, the little stem. Got the other side, which needs a bit of a trim actually. It's a bit of soft stuff there. If I take that off, that'll be something to start with. Okay, let's have a look. I don't want to darken too much of these berries. I just want to put that shadow in, just to give them that suggestion of volume, like so. Quite heavy-handed with that pencil in places, but I know once I find my kneadable eraser I can easily deal with that. With this I want to put some shade underneath here, as if this is curling around and under. Then at the bottom I'm going to go to the left as well. So let's have a look there and see how that looks. Could actually do with just cleaning some of that up. It's got a bit dark. So this is the wonderful thing about using pencil. Yeah, I get it now. Sort of. I can see the benefit of adding shading. Don't like pencils, but I do the similar thing just with colours usually. But if I'm going to use just simple colours with this, this will put the shading in for me mostly. And I can work with just leaving highlights then. So that's a bit better, isn't it? Okay, this is going to be more complicated to shade. So I want to put some at the left here and some at the bottom on the outside edge of each of these. Yeah. Now this leaf here, I want to have this bit almost like it's sticking up, so this bit's got catching the light. I want this to be in shadow, this will be in shadow, this part here will be in shadow, but only a little bit of that will. We'll add some shadow around the bottom edge of this, so we're doing a bit more complicated shading here. Definitely going to add shading on this side of this section, so let's see how this looks. Let me use, the ends are most probably both equally gungy now. So I do want to get that in there as if we've got that curve. I think I will add a fair amount, blend this graphite out. Here I just want that in shadow. I am going to put a tiny bit these edges as if they're curved back inwards. They could potentially be in shadow. So add some shadow there and some shadow here. Then along the bottom edge here. So this one I'm just softening it out a little bit as well. Again, a feeling of it being tucked inside and it's almost bending over. So I do want to put some shadow at the tips of these petals to have them feeling like they are bending that way. Will I get to add any colour in this video? I'm already at nearly an hour. You'll be saying, why did you show us your sketchbook? Oh, it's nice to see what somebody's sketchbook can really be like. It doesn't have to be an aesthetically perfect thing. It's like a working document. Charts what you've tried, what your thoughts are, what's going on, what you're experimenting with, what materials you're into at the moment. So I'm just going to put a hint of shadow underneath these sections, and perhaps to the left of these, or left and bottom of these areas. Got enough graphite on, enough pencil on this to do that, because I do want it quite subtle, to be honest. Okay, let's have a look. That'll do. So we've got that, so that's got some volume to it now. Okay, this one, let's finish the flower, the last flower. So I'm going to put shadow there and here and there and there at the edges. Here, yeah, my pen slipped over, so I'm just going to sort this out. I will make these quite uniformly sort of greyish, to be honest. Down the bottom there, and we can have some here as well. Some up the middle, so it looks like there's almost like veins there. Oh, I'm getting bolder. Here, where I've got the thicker lines, I'm going to put, that's where I'm going to put shadow on the inside bit. It's underneath these, because that's where the light is, wherever you put the dark lines. And then on the outside bit, I'm going to go where I've put the shadows there, and of course always here, and a bit more inside here. There needs to be some there, because we do want to have that dimension to come out. So I'm going to add some here, a little bit just there, a bit here, and a little bit there as well. Oh, didn't put any on this one. It's okay. I'll pick enough graphite up on this paper stump to do that. So let's have a look here. I'm just flicking this out to give some texture. This one's not so easy because it's quite a small area like this one, and so it's quite important really that you put not as much graphite down as I've done, I suppose, but then there are always erasers. So all I'm saying, there's always erasers. And there we've got a leaf, a flower that looks really rather luscious. Now again, I'd like this to be raised, so I'm going to put the shading at the edges of the leaves. And which one would catch the light? Well, I think they both would, so let's have a look and see what it looks like if I just put shading at the edges. Just blend it up a little bit, just to give a nice smooth transition from shade, no shade to shade. Like so. Does that work? Sort of. I think I'd quite like to put quite an intense shadow underneath this side, because then that really, I think, might give it that feeling of curvature, just that little bit more. I don't know. I just want to clear some of this, to be honest, as well, just to give that highlight. Okay, I've done these, I've done those. These ones, it's going to be shading at the bottom, shading, plenty of shade underneath here, at the end here and the end here, so less and less, perhaps along the outside edges. And let's have a look at how that looks. Thing is, you can always play around with where you put shade if you wish, and that can be a fun experiment. I always seem to tend to stick to a kind of light source that would give shadow to the, as if the light's coming from the top here, so the shadows will be to the, will be the opposite side of the direction of the light. This light's going from top right to bottom left, as it were. It's going in this direction, so anything this light would hit would be on the right and on the top. So I want to put shadow on the opposite sides, which is the left and the bottom, and I stick to that rule. That's how it works for me. But I know that if you've got a geometric pattern, you just basically make shadow where you want it to be and repeat it, and then it all works out just okay. Okay, this is just a little bit too dark and a bit too far out, but that may work. So that's given me that. These tiny little berries, I'm just going to put the tiniest amount of shadow at the bottom of them. So just a tiny bit of graphite. And, you know, part of me is thinking I should really get a cleaner paper stump or tortillon, but it'll be what it'll be now. So I'm just going to wiggle at the bottom or wherever this dot is, just to spread the dot out that little bit. That'll be fine. There's a bit of highlight on the top, that's all I'm interested in. Some of them won't have much of a highlight because they're so tiny. As long as there's a little bit of highlight, it'll work. Oh, you were saying, Angela, you might as well finish adding all the shading. Do you know what? I think you're right. Because there's not much I haven't done, is there? I haven't done the stem. So, and there's a couple of these curls and this leaf, so I might as well finish that before I call the video done. Because I know somebody will enjoy the shading part, I'm sure. So here I'm going to add shade behind this leaf, and I'm going to put quite a bit there because I want it to be quite dark. Got that going on. So let me deal with these bits first. Ooh, that was windy. I don't know if you can hear the wind blowing. It's lovely and windy out. And I've got deliveries today. I've got a lot of deliveries coming. And I don't know when, because they didn't give me a time. I had quite a few yesterday, but one of them did give me a time, but the rest didn't. And one I thought, I had to get in touch with, I think it was DHL the other day. I did some adulting on Thursday, serious adulting. And one of them was because there was a parcel they couldn't deliver because it was missing part of my address. So I got in touch with them, spoke to a lovely lady, totally geeked out, as I do, about various things. Made a laugh, which is always a good thing when you have people who work. She was very shocked when I thanked her. She said, I think you're the first person who's ever thanked me on the phone. I said, well, you've helped me, you've done me good things and you've put up with me and my geekiness. Why wouldn't I thank you? And she seemed really taken aback, which sort of surprised me because, you know, it's, I just think it's common courtesy, you know. I thank everybody, mostly. Obviously, I don't thank people who've done something bad, because that's not worth a thank you. Or if somebody's rude, then that's different. You might get a sarcastic response from me. I try not to, though, because I think, well, everybody's having a stressful day. Perhaps they've had awkward customers who've been shouting at them, or, you know, some reason. You know, it's not a big deal. So I thought it might have been a delivery from Amazon. It turns out it was my advanced copies, my proof copies of Whimsical Houses. So that was quite nice. It's always nice to see and you go, oh, did I do that? Blimey. Yeah, because my memory isn't exactly brilliant. So once I've done a book, I tend to forget about it and move on to the next thing. Obviously, there are elements of things that, you know, creep into all of my work. I have a particular way of working, a particular style, I suppose. And yeah, as I'm beginning to feel a bit better now as well, I seem to have a bit more energy, not as much as I'd like. So, and my mood seems a bit more stable, which is a good thing. Then it's time for me to turn my attention to Daydreams. It's the next book I'm doing. Right, so here the stem goes underneath this bit, so we're going to add some shadow in there, which will help lift that up. I'm not going to put a drop shadow in yet, because I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with the background or add anything else. But what I've got here, excuse me a moment, as I turn round, I do have my Karin brush markers. Now, These are lovely. They've got water-soluble ink in them, you know, watercolour ink. And that means the ink is transparent, whereas with watercolours, when they go over your pen lines, they'll dull them down. So I want to choose these, and I think I'm going to go with some colours that very much remind me of Egypt. So I've got a turquoise, I have got sky blue, I think that, or should I have Arctic blue? No, sky blue or mint, cool aqua. Cool aqua would be nice. I want a really, really vibrant blue. So I've got royal blue there. Reds and oranges, I think, remind me of golds. So I've got gold here, which is one of my favourite ones, and yet I've used loads of it and not much of it has gone. They're very economical, you know. Gold, I want an orange, so I've got amber. The amber might be nice, and then a red. Yeah, I've got that red, I've got lipstick red, magenta red, pale pink, fire red. I think I'll go with fire red, and I'll worry about leaves afterwards. So let's have a look at these. I've got a little palette here, it's just a small porcelain one. I've got a couple of water brushes. I've got my trusty Kuretake Zig, and I have my a Pentel Aquash. Thought I'd try them. It's really hard to get hold of these individually now, it seems. Perhaps I didn't look hard enough, but that's how it is. So I'm going to do the, actually, where did I put that cut off of paper? There it is. Let me see how these move directly on the paper, because this is cotton. That's brilliant. They don't stick to it easily. Fab. I won't need the palette then, because I'm going to work directly on the paper with these. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put some of the red at the base of this one. I'm not doing the middle bit, and I won't do too many at once, just in case when they dry. It may just be that they take a lot longer to dry on here. And just very gently I can just activate this as I would do with Inktense and just pull the colour out. And I get that lightning going on. Not lightning as in thunder and lightning, but lightening. The colour becomes paler quite naturally as I tease it out and the colour comes in. And you can see I've all Graphite has put a shadow underneath it, so I'm quite happy with that. And as long as this amount of water keeps flowing through the brush, I'll be very happy. This one, I haven't worked out how to get it so that I only have a small amount of water. The brush is just damp rather than flooding out, because I really don't want it flooding out, because I'll end up making a mess. I like to work with just damp, barely damp brushes, you know. I'm not a loose watercolourist, I would say. I think I like some tight control. Though if I find colours that work together, I'm happy to dab colours in and let them mix and create their own texture. I do have to say that. Okay, so we've got the last couple of sections to do. There and there. Maybe not totally Egyptian, but it's close enough. Yeah. And with these, a little bit of the colour really does go a long way, which is fab. That's why they're so economical. You can rub them on a palette, you know, draw with them on a palette or a plate, and use them from there like watercolours, and get very, very dilute or very strong colours. Mix them on there. But I'm going to go back and mix them on this, because I'm going to put some orange at the top of this. This is going to be fun. So I'm just putting some orange down at the top, because these first ones will have dried because I'm not using that much water. And then I can blend the orange into the red. This is fun. Oh, why haven't I used watercolour paper before? Well, much before. Right, I'm a convert. So we're getting this lovely blending going on. And I think I prefer using these brush markers with the ink in, or you know, the water soluble ink, rather than watercolours, to be honest. The colours are very vibrant, and I think the graphite tones them down enough for me, which makes me quite happy. So yes, yesterday was a day of deliveries. This one early-ish in the morning, and then I had 2 or 3 within a couple of minutes of each other. And I had one delivery. I said, "Oh, you're the second one now in a couple of minutes." He said, "Do you just have one from DHL?" And he was from DHL. I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, why didn't I have that?" "I don't know. What have you got in?" And that was my new phone because I was due an upgrade. So, oops, I put the orange at the wrong end. It'll be fine. And so I spent a fair amount of time yesterday wrangling with the new one and the old one to get everything transferred over. As it happened, it was really easy to do. It just wasn't obvious that it was doing it. I kid you not. So really nice. So apparently the camera on this one is brilliant, because the chap I was speaking to, because I phoned the company I'm with, the mobile phone company I'm with, or cell phone company I'm with up, because I had options given to me on their website or on their app. And I just find it hard to compare them. Whereas if I talk to somebody about what I need, what I'd like, then we sorted it out. And so, you know, it's easier for somebody to sort it out and talk to me. And they always say, Apple or Android? I said, "Oh, Apple is not the droid I'm looking for." And he sort of chuckled at that. And poor chap, I convinced him he needs to watch all the Star Wars films. Bless him. So I've got this. I'm really chuffed with that as it looks now. I'm going to add some yellow into these sections, this lovely gold colour. I think you can get these markers on open stock, which means you can buy them individually, because I'll eventually have some that will run out on me, and that means I'll be able to stock up with the ones that I use so much. And this is just such a lovely colour. I love the way I can get such nice gradients, and I can blend the colours out. This is where I prefer these to alcohol markers, and I think using the right kind of paper now. Yes, I got brave. I bought the right kind of paper. What colour do I want to put in the middle? Do you know what? I'm going to use turquoise, because these colours will just bounce off each other. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit at the base, and I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to move it, because they're complementary colours. They're opposite-ish each other on the colour wheel, so they will make each other look that much brighter, which is a fantastic thing. I have to be careful with these because the ink is coming out quite quickly with this, so I want to keep it within my pen lines. There we go, that one's fine, and that one, tiny little bit. Tiny spaces, you only need a tiny little dot. Some does spill over. I'm not going to get upset about it, because I know once it's dry I can most probably do something to fix it if necessary. And I can see spaces where I've got some white spots, and I'm just going to reactivate this dye and spread it out. So that looks positively Egyptian-esque, possibly. Very bright, very colourful. Of course I will be adding gold, no doubt, at some point. Oh, look at that, I've missed completely with part of that, but it'll be okay. I'll let it dry and then I can sort those little overspills out. And at the top here, On the tops of these I am going to use red again, but I'm going to put it to each side like so, and I most probably could go across the whole lot of them. And that's quite a big section, so I want a bit more ink there than I would do on the smaller ones, because it's got a bigger distance to go and I want to keep it fairly vibrant here. So let's have a look. These do stay wet a lot longer on this paper, and it's not cold here today. It's quite warm upstairs actually. So on ordinary paper, you know, on cartridge paper, even if it's all media paper, they tend to stick. Okay, it's going to cost me plenty in the future going forward for what, you know, cotton watercolour paper. This is Fabriano, and I bought it from Ward, who supply it in packs of pre-cut paper, and they're reasonably priced, you know, for this. Fabriano is a good name, and of course watercolour paper is always that much more expensive, but I got a fair amount of sheets for a reasonable amount, so, and I tend to cut it down, so I'll get a lot more sheets than I had. So, and I'm telling you, I've discovered here and now that this is a lot more pleasurable to work with. So excellent. Now I may want to use coloured pencils to intensify colour at some point, which is always a possibility, and they will work nicely on this paper as well. But there's my first flower. I will do the bomb part now, because I know that you would like to see it. This is a long video, it's 1 hour 20 minutes already, but I'm sure you'll forgive me. Let's put some of this royal blue there, and I'm going to put some of this turquoise in the middle to blend with it. So I'm going to start with that turquoise, and I'm going to blend it down this way, and then hopefully, and I can see where I've got little bits of this turquoise missing, so I can just go back and add that little bit in, and then we're going to get this, which will blend into this beautifully. Get this lovely blue green. This area here where they're just beginning to blend is the most gorgeous colour. There's almost a glow to it. It's just a shame that as the paint dries it becomes a bit duller and not so bright, but it is fabulousness. So let's move this. Now blues are notoriously sticky pigments, but on this paper they're shifting beautifully. How good is that? How vibrant. That is amazing. And what I'm going to do in the middle is I'm just going to move some more of this colour to either side just to lighten it up a bit, and just give a little bit of a highlight there as well. So he's just moving again quite nicely. Move it down into the darker area, and that's lovely there. So I can just pick that up and just create a highlight. Like so. That is, yeah, I'm impressed myself with that. You know, I'm not easily impressed. You do know this, but I am here. Right, I'm going to put some gold in this part because that seems the right thing to do. No other reason than because I can. And that just blends beautifully as well. And then let's use some of this cool aqua on the top part of these leaves, and I'll use it and a bit of the turquoise on the lower part. And I'm not going to mix those colours on a palette because when I add water it just diminishes the intensity. My ability to do this, that is actually lovely. And it's got that feeling of turquoise. Stone. It was turquoise they used as the bluestone. No, it wasn't. The name will come to me if I stop trying to think hard about it. So I'm going to put some of this on either side here. I'm going to leave a gap in the middle. Then we're going to pop some of this turquoise at the base. Just a little bit, just enough to blend it. And let's see how this blends. Bearing in mind this section is quite dark as well with graphite, but that darkness of graphite will show through. Don't know if you noticed how quickly that little bit of ink there just bled into the water when it touched it. It just went whoosh. That makes me happy. So let's have a look here. Blend this out. Get this here, and you can see that where it's damp, it'll just go whoosh and blend itself mostly. And this end as well, we can do the same thing. That is just okay. So this section here, I'm going to use that red again, and I'm going to put it on this part and this part, just here and here. Don't have to take it all the way into the corners where I'm likely to touch the blue. I can do that with the very fine tip of this brush, just move that in there very gently. And then we can do the same here. So I've got this lovely red band. I'll just put some in that blue, it'll be fine. Because again, I can clean it up afterwards. So I've got that lovely red colour there. And I'm going to close that up. I'm going to use fire red there. I'm going to use the orange underneath. So, and fill this in with that lovely orange colour. Orange and orangey reds are complementary to these turquoisey colours. They will shine brightly there. Underneath here, I'm going to put orange at the top where it's darkest, but I'm going to put some gold towards the base where it's going to be lightest. That then should give us something that's really nice. So that there, I really like that. Okay, I'm going to finish that here, and I may continue playing with this while the video's processing and everything else. But I do hope that you've enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit long, but as I always say, you could always use, you know, the button that's just the speed on the screen when you go over it, or however, you can do it on televisions and things as well, and watch it in fast motion, or just pause it and come back to it at another time. I will put the timestamp in the description for when the sketchbook finishes and the drawing starts. Okay, so have fun with these flowers, create your own, do your own variations, try your own leaves and berries and goodness knows what out. And even though this is a whole melange of styles, it's not a coherent kind of thing. It will be coherent because I'm going to use these colours and the same greens and colours for berries on the whole of this, so it will all tie together in the end. And greens, I most probably will just use one green and let the graphite shading do its work as it's done elsewhere. So thank you for joining me, thank you for bearing with me, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Take care now, ta-ra.